So as someone with the LinkedIn profile, I always enjoy the occasional recruiter email. It's fun when people reach out to you with opportunities instead of the usual job search groveling you need in order to convince them to give you a chance to, enjoy the privilege of making a living. And a few months back, I got a very interesting message in my inbox.
Hey Isaac, my name is and I'm the lead recruiter for G4. I saw your profile on LinkedIn and that you are open to work. I have an account executive position available that I think you could be a great fit for. While titles are sometimes misleading, this is a mid-senior level sales position on the G4 team. Without wasting time, the OTE will cap at $300,000, and our salary is $150,000, so you could double your guaranteed salary if all goes well. If you are interested in hearing more, please respond here and include your resume so we can get you moving along in the process.
Now this sounds like a pretty good offer. Didn't waste my time by playing the salary game like most other recruiters do. Gave me a salary right out of the gate, working for a company I used to love to watch that had just recently been resurrected. It was like the career gods had reached down from the heavens to give me the ultimate opportunity. But as I'm sure with most of you with 2020 Future Sight might have been able to guess what happened next. G4 TV is no more. The world's first gaming network has returned from whence it came, relegated again to the dustbin of history. But today I'd like to take the time to talk about the potential opportunity for a job at a company that looked like it was doomed to fail from the start. So join me as we look into my LinkedIn DMs that foresaw the second death of gaming television as we explore the second death of G4.
You gotta love to be gone back yet.
So the dream of gaming TV has been a long one. Back in 2002, the original G4 launched by playing Pong on TV for 24 hours. With the gaming industry quickly growing in relevance and with record revenues that could soon eclipse movies, TV, and music, it seemed like the only natural choice to tap into this new growing audience. People weren't growing out of gaming, instead they were growing up with it. So Comcast decided to launch G4 to tap into this growing audience and compete with Tech TV. Eventually, it wouldn't even need to do that by consuming Tech TV entirely as the two networks merged together. And while the channel would gain a small following thanks to cult programs like X-Play and Attack of the Show, it mostly became known for its reruns of Ninja Warrior, Cops, and Cheaters. Despite being amidst the zeitgeist of growing gaming developments, with the boom years featuring the debut of the Wii, PS3, and Xbox 360 launch, complete with live E3 coverage, as time marched on, the main gaming audience moved to pursue their interests online with the rise of YouTube and streaming, along with social media and user-generated content platforms. G4 never really was quite able to build a consistent audience. At best, it leaned into the public access level of production value, doing dumb little low-budget self-aware sketches like Roger the Stan Lee Experience.
We tried to get Stan Lee for this segment, but he wouldn't accept our friendship on MySpace. Or we didn't try. But we got the sixth best thing. It's Roger, the Stan Lee Experience. He's not Stan Lee, but an incredibly inaccurate performance.
So, I'm working late, trying to finish Howard the Duck number 22, the one where he gets testicular cancer. And I'm banging away at Jack Kirby's wife and choking myself at the same time, until finally I pass out from autoerotic asphyxiation. That's how I came up with the ending for the Infinity Gauntlet.
Bits like this were filled with all kinds of off-color nerd humor, like poking fun at Stan Lee for all of the accusations that he just took credit for the work done by Jack Kirby. This was G4's charm, but it wasn't enough to really grow the network, and so after being dropped by DirecTV for low ratings, the last nail was put in the coffin. G4 ended its studio programming in 2012 and was rebranded into the Esquire network. This did little to save it. Time Warner Cable, Bright House Networks, and Verizon Fios discontinued the network, dropping it completely from their cable bundle packages. G4 died where it began. The last thing that ever aired was the first episode of X-Play, with one last game of Pong ending in a game over screen before the network shut off for good. The dream of gamer television died out, but it was not entirely forgotten. With the rise of user-generated platforms like YouTube and Twitch that could support the pursuit of niche independent content creators who had the freedom to do whatever they wanted without having to post any kind of corporate profits, the space of gaming entertainment proliferated. And as more and more successful channels grew and the audience grew, and most importantly, the revenue grew, the prospect of achieving the dream of creating a gaming television network began to once again paint a glimmer in the eye of mainstream media executives. There were fleeting efforts like the very short-lived Disney XD programming block DXP that attempted to bring in several popular YouTubers and streamers to build a block of Let's Play programming.
Cue the lights.
Are you ready? I'm not ready.
You're nearly there.
Give us everything we got.
Did you see that?
This is Poker Play.
I play games and you guys are in my room watching me every day. This is weird now.
Me or my friends sitting on a couch playing video games and being sarcastic.
What do I do? The Legend of Zelda. Somebody call an ambulance!
They even did a live coverage of E3 and then came to regret it horribly once they learned that most of E3 games were rated M for mature, featuring horribly gory violence-fueled epics filled with lesbian makeout sessions like The Last of Us 2 and not Fortnite. The funniest thing was how they had to censor it live on air because they had so horribly misjudged the content and the audience big gaming trade shows typically cater towards, like here. But despite not seeing the clear red flags, nobody ever really learned the hard lessons from these failures, and the ambition to transform gaming and streaming entertainment pushed forward. With so much money pouring into creators, there just had to be some way to get a piece of that gaming pie. The project was seemingly started by Tucker Roberts, the son of Comcast CEO Brian Roberts, as a way to impress his then-girlfriend Olivia Munn during their one-year romance. Tucker was the president of the Overwatch League, the Philadelphia Fusion, along with advising Comcast's Spectacur, which is the company's sports and esports division. So seemingly expanding his area of expertise after heading one of the most successful esports teams in the Overwatch League and branching out into reviving the dead brand of G4 seemed like a natural extension of his previous experience and a nice little project that Big Daddy Brian Roberts could reward his little boy Tucker with. But this billion-dollar bid to try and impress and keep his hot girlfriend around did not do much good. They eventually broke up. Olivia Munn never appeared on the network's relaunch, and according to the insider email newsletter of Puck, walked away with a 2-year, 7-figure deal without having to do much of anything. I always found her involvement with the new G4 weird, since I've met a lot of people who worked at the old G4, and they all had the same thing to say about her, and that was how she hated her time at G4 and despised most of the people working there. Using her time as the network's bombshell cover girl to build a comedy reel doing skits so she could monkey bar her way into real acting gigs, like playing a sexy superhero in X-Men Apocalypse and starring in Mordecai with Johnny Depp. Olivia Munn might be the real winner in all of this. Munn's beauty ignited a doomed gaming TV show passion project, wasting millions of dollars. But it was too late, things were already in motion. In July of 2020, a teaser trailer was posted. Attack of the Show and X-Play Twitter accounts were reactivated with a teaser announcement video saying that they had never stopped playing. The website came back online with a playable Pong. A video featuring long-running X-Play host Adam Sessler was posted, showcasing him as one of his long-running skit characters, Crazy Adam. In the video, he asks for new talent to submit themselves to become new hosts for G4.
I'm back! But you know what's crazier than that? The greatest superstar gaming network of all time, G4, wants your help in finding the newest generation of superstar gaming hosts. My help? Everybody's help! Yay! Do our work for us! If you know someone who has what it takes to be the next Dr. Lupus, Pokeball, or Ninja, well, tag him in a tweet and stuff. Tag your favorite creator. Tag a wrestler. You can even tag your dog. Include the hashtag G4 needs talent. That way we can tell who's a real fan and who's one of the lizard people. It's a pandemic of opportunities! But what if I want to try out? Then you have to get over your crippling self-doubt. Okay! But the rest of you, go to the G4 subreddit at this address to find out how to submit yourselves. Sorry, Tic Tac Zoomers, you have to be over 18 to get involved. I tell you more, but I'm not allowed to give out any more legal advice on the internet.
If you know an OK gamer who thinks they're the most, Crazy Adam might just make them a host. Crazy Adam.
The build-up to the relaunch was expertly crafted, riding in nostalgia while also commenting on the changed video game landscape of today. This all led up towards a live stream which featured a very special G4 reunion special where old castmates like Morgan Webb, Kevin Pereira, and Blair Herter all came back together, ending with the announcement that gaming superfan and WWE wrestler Xavier Woods would become the new hosts for the relaunch. All of the material had the self-aware and self-deprecating humor that characterized the channel's earlier efforts. There was an entire content marketing initiative called B4G4, which featured all kinds of short-form videos building up to the eventual channel's relaunch. Popular shows X-Play and Attack of the Show were to be revived. More talent was added to the growing roster, like shoutcasters Frosk, Olive May, and Golden Boy Alex Mendez. More talent was added, more engagement was done, everything seemed to be on the up and up, with new shows coming in the pipeline, engaging with live streams, but there was a dark specter looming in the backdrop of G4's relaunch. A dire warning sign few took heed of, a harbinger of things to come.
I actually want to talk about something so much more important than Red Dead Online. Sexism in gaming.
I know what you're thinking, but that's not what I'm talking about, at least not yet, because there was another effort to try and build a new video game streaming network before G4 officially launched, and that was Venn, the Video Game Entertainment News Network.
Gaming is everything. Our adventures, our stories, our wins, our losses, our passion, our community. And we're building a home to celebrate what we love the most. A 24/7 network for gaming and culture. Welcome to Venn.
It was the brainchild of EA marketer Ben Bussen and Riot Games' former head of esports content, Ariel Horn. The dream was to build the new MTV for the video game generation, something that could live on linear streaming platforms like Roku or cable, but also be streaming on platforms like Twitch and YouTube 24/7. In total, they'd managed to raise $43 million in venture capital money to try and build this fledgling channel, and they had big plans of opening 2 studio spaces in New York and LA to build a network hub where the best influencers and gaming talent could congregate in a variety of Let's Play and gaming content. They signed a variety of different talent to produce shows, everything from former porn star turned Twitch streamer Sasha Grey to YouTuber Cash Nasty and Freddie Wong's brother Jimmy Wong, who was going to be in the upcoming Mulan movie. They had singing sensation Christy Constanza to host a Let's Play show called Guest House, and an experimental Twitch streamer, the Sushi Dragon, creating his own variety show, seemingly launched during the best time amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, where more people than ever before were stuck indoors playing video games like Among Us. They even got Austin Cho to come on and host an exciting new streaming game show called Dare Package that would try and replicate the Fear Factor gross-out reality programming for the streaming generation. So how did Venn do? I think probably the fact that most of you never heard of it will probably give you a pretty big clue as to what happened. It barely managed to last for a year before shutting down completely in August of 2021. It came out of the gate swinging, but all of the money that had been used to build a studio space and bring on talent left very little for the most important task of actually being able to promote the network. I knew the writing was on the wall after it launched, and I didn't see any articles on any of the major gaming sites even doing them the dignity of covering a PR press release as a news story. Venn had a lot of problems, but one of the biggest ones was the fact that only 2 shows directly dealt with gaming, one being the news roundup show called The Download, and the other being the Let's Play show Venn Arcade. The others were more focused on internet and lifestyle content like Sasha Grey's TV show Gray Area and the goddamn fitness show Looking for Gains with Cash. Jesus Christ, no idea who thought that was a good idea. That the thing game-craving Gen Z youth were wanting to watch most was a freaking workout streaming show. On paper, it should have worked. The talent was made up of people who had big followings on social media. If they could even translate a fraction of their online engagement into consistent viewership, then this would be the next step in stepping up the influencer economy into a more legit traditional media business. But if you want to see how things went, then look no further than some of the reviews posted on Glassdoor by people who worked at Venn. Pros: enjoyed working with most of the people in the company. Everyone really came together to build the network in the beginning. Cons: no culture outside of being overworked and underpaid and appreciated. A sentiment shared across the board. Pros: was a promising concept, but the business strategy from the beginning set up Venn to fail rapidly as it continues to. Cons: 3 to 4 massive layoffs in the first few months of operation due to executive C-suite negligence, executives initially purchasing viewership numbers on distribution platforms to create a false sense of audience when viewership was/is extremely minimal and denying it. Extremely long and arduous hours, and as a previous review mentioned, no public interest. Advice to management: when things are going good, you present yourselves as a whole media company/television network, yet when things are bad, which is most of the time, your sudden excuse is that you're a startup. Bite the bullet, give investors their money back before you get in too deep. I'd say Venn is dead, but it was never really alive to begin with. Pros: good people work there, everyone is talented. Cons: bad management, unfortunately, lots of turnover. Pros: Venn is taking risks when it comes to their content and showcasing new creators. Cons: viewing numbers are very low. There is little public interest. Pros: autonomy and really talented people with terrific attitudes. Cons: built the airplane while flying and leadership forgot to buy fuel. I've had the privilege to meet up with someone who had previously worked at Venn, and he told me some interesting details. He said that they had been spending at least $3 million a month on programming, and with that kind of burn, by paying for talent, a studio and crew, plus everything they'd already invested into creating a studio space, it's hard not to see why Venn only lasted a few months. That $43 million was too little to keep it going for much longer. Shows came to abrupt season finales with no word on when or if they'd come back. New programming stopped airing by December of 2020. Founder Horn tried to recalibrate going into 2021 by focusing more on esports coverage and signing a simulcasting deal with fan-controlled football. They also did a slight rebranding by creating 2 separate YouTube channels with Venn Download and Venn Esports, and the main channel becoming Venn Plays. But by this time, the efforts were futile, dying gasps of a decaying brand. Even having League of Legends esport podcast Face Check wasn't enough. It was too little and too niche. By July of 2021, Venn retained an accounting firm to try and seek a possible acquisition and sell off what little they could. The dream was dead. The website is gone, but the YouTube channel still remains if you'd like to pay tribute and see what could have been. There's a fantastic article on Inverse that does a deep dive, labeling the venture as a colossal failure. And if you're interested, I'd highly recommend reading the full article, and I'll include a link to it in the description of the video. While Venn was burning through its funds, it was failing to gain an audience thanks in part to its passive marketing. Multiple sources say the company was relying in part on its influencer hosts and high production values to sell the content. Across the board, there was no viewership because there was no strategy, says one former producer. The marketing was so bad, industry contacts I had that were very established and I had been working with for years told me, we have no interest in Venn, we have no idea what it is. Another former staffer provides further context. They didn't understand their distribution from the start. They didn't know where views were going to come from and how to build on views they did get. There was a lot of focus on short-term game. Success doesn't come in the short term when you're talking about Twitch or YouTube. And that was always the focus. It betrayed a lack of media understanding. Charlie Kreischa was initially brought in as a creative consultant at Venn and would eventually oversee post-production. We were pretending that we were going to be MTV, he says, but we didn't realize that the audience we talked to thought MTV was the stupidest thing ever created. The tensions were raised because we all felt we were failing as a company in general, and we all turned on each other. No one was aligned, and that is what ultimately led to Venn's downfall. Horn says the problem with Venn's marketing was twofold. The first issue was that companies were mostly interested in advertising on connected TV, meaning products that enable viewers to stream content, such as Roku or Apple TV, and that this was not where the viewers were actually engaging with Venn. The second problem he cites is in line with what Input heard from its former employees. The talent Venn hired was not able to bring viewers over to its channels, a big assumption the company's executives had made going into launch. This was a big central flaw, assuming they could use influencer clout instead of actually paying for advertising and publicity. And as a micro-sized influencer, let me say, it's next to impossible to get you mofos to do much of anything. I have a second channel. I was hoping to get 1,000 subs so I could monetize it for my non-scripted content. I even asked nicely, but did not manage to accomplish that. Same thing with my Facebook page. There are very few content creators or influencers who actually have the power to make anyone do much of anything. Everyone looks at the Kylie Jenners or Logan Pauls, but not everyone has the power to push makeup with an Instagram post or make kids buy a t-shirt branded with your pet parrot. Venn learned this cruel lesson the harsh way. They thought if they could just elevate the talent on a professional level, that'd be good enough, but instead they wasted their money instead of using it for outreach. It was probably the most important lesson to learn from the closure of Venn, and G4 did not learn it. They also spent a huge amount of money on a great-looking studio, believing that by having well-known YouTubers like the Black Hokage and Gerard of the Completionist fame would be enough to prop up the brand. They even paid beloved gaming YouTube content creator Scott the Waz to re-edit episodes of his YouTube series to fit into the broadcast TV format. In many respects, I think G4 was doing a lot of the things I thought Venn should be doing instead of focusing on internet lifestyle content. The belief was that the linear cable and corporate money offered by the support of a megacorp like Comcast would provide the kind of insulation that venture capital funding of Venn could not. The Washington Post also had a very good article about the death of G4, and in it they also showcased this terrible misunderstanding by its corporate managers. To help court an audience, G4 contracted established modern content creators like Austin Show, who was not divulged his last name, Olivia May, and Alex Goldenboy Mendez for regular hosting duties. It also brought in high-profile streamers like Amaranth, Tyler1, Steinkamp, and Hassan Piker for guest appearances. Content creators pay from G4 ran the gamut, with two former employees saying regulars were contracted a year at a time, with Mendez and May scoring six-figure salaries. Austin Show, whose live game shows reliably pull tens of thousands of concurrent viewers with or without G4, made seven figures, according to one former employee. Neither Mendez nor May replied to the Post's repeated requests for comment. The day rates for some guests were steep. Speaking to the Post, Austin Show said G4 had a budget for influencer marketing and that the money was sometimes offered to streamers, but the $20,000 to $30,000 was the upper end and the large majority made less. With most or any of my shows I produce or appear on with other streamers, we usually don't pay each other, Austin Cho said. For G4, the company would offer money to some of those appearing in exchange for guaranteed marketing, which is something we wouldn't feel comfortable asking for free. Big names, some of who appeared on the Name Your Price shows, made between $10,000 to $20,000 for brief appearances or raids, in which popular streamers like Iman Pokimane would send their audiences to G4's channel to boost its numbers, according to multiple former employees. Even short visits by popular guests could be expensive. Steinkamp, according to former employee with knowledge of these figures, was paid $20,000 for a 2-hour call-in appearance on a G4 esports program. An ex-G4 employee attributed the higher rates for streamers to the fact that any time spent not streaming on their own channel would cost them money in terms of a drop in paid subscribers and a loss of advertising revenue. Leadership's belief, according to former employees, was that the guest appearances, along with the sporadic appearances and featured slots on Twitch's front page, would lead to increased sustained viewership. However, the practice led some G4 shows to see atypical viewership spikes while others didn't, according to multiple former employees. One thing would pop off because of someone popular, and that's what the expectation would be for everything, said a former contractor. It wasn't feasible. There you have it again, the belief that influencer marketing would save the day. But the numbers across G4's numerous YouTube channels were anemic at best. Jesus Christ, was nobody aware of the fact that Venn also tried the streaming TV show with Austin Cho, and that didn't do shit for them? I kind of love how they repeated this same goddamn mistake because they were too lazy or too arrogant to look at whatever happened over at Venn. I guess Austin was the real winner, securing the bag and getting to keep his Twitch stream. Then came probably the most infamous incident in G4's entire run, the Frosk rant.
I actually want to talk about something so much more important than Red Dead Online: sexism in gaming. In joining G4...
This is not where I thought we were going, but I'm here.
I had no idea.
I'm listening. Yeah.
In joining G4, I was ecstatic to be part of something that I grew up watching as a child. But every time G4 is brought up in various channels, even in this YouTube channel, we have the chat in front of us, I can see you, without a doubt, there will be backlash because I'm not as bangable as the previous hosts. It's somehow...
Talk to him, Frosk!
It has somehow been expected that you can talk about how much you jerked off to women as a compliment.
That
It's
shit
not
weird.
a compliment.
It's weird.
It's dehumanizing and it's weird. Women do not exist to be nice on the eyes for you. Morgan Webb, Olivia Munn did not exist to be nice on the eyes for you.
Hey, she cooking, y'all.
Adam will read a script written by the same writer that I will read the other half of the script for, but I'll be the one flamed. And yeah, it also happens to Gerard and TBH, but that doesn't discount the sexism of how it happens to me when it does. Both things can be true, that there is a general hatred of any change that isn't Adam, and that I'll receive special flame just for being a woman. When you're in our DMs or on those YouTube comments or in Twitch chat right now, those reactionary threads thinking that I'm somehow ruining your current X-Play experience because you can't objectify me how you previously did to Morgan, or that I'm somehow less qualified to speak on something, but you can't quite put your finger on why, even though I'm reading the exact same script as Adam, but you have no problem with he's part of it, you're letting your unconscious biases ruin my day and you're gatekeeping the gaming space. So maybe for 2022, we be a bit nicer, a bit more self-reflective, and we enjoy the fact that people are working hard to make free content for you. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
And what was supposed to be a segment on Red Dead Redemption 2's online mode was changed at the last minute to discuss sexism in gaming. To critique the comments section that did not approve of Frosk's more butch lesbian appearance and perceived lack of on-screen talent compared to previous more traditionally feminine G4 hosts. And she was clapped and lauded by her fellow cast and crew for standing up against the trolls and the bigots. Now, I don't think what she said was entirely wrong, but by the same token, the core audience of G4 back in the day was kind of a center-right to slightly center-left leaning. You know, the kind of dude bros who enjoyed edgy humor, South Park video games, Spike TV, anime, and looking at hot babes.
Full of stuff men like. Yeah, that stuff.
I'm sorry, but let's be honest about Olivia Munn, but she was cast for one reason and one reason alone.
Sexy French maid! Oh, am I the towel boy now?
Is there a reason that it's porno light on me right now?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. The world has been waiting for a half Chinese, half American girl from the Midwest diving into a giant chocolate-filled cream pie. Oh, yeah. Oh, hold on. Who's a big girl with the pie?
Was this a good look back in the day, especially now in the wake of the Me Too movement? Probably not. But let's be realistic, the kind of leftist audience that would like to hear this message is not going to be hanging around watching G4 live streams, even in its new sanitized, more progressive version. They're going to be going to websites and blogs like Polygon or Kotaku, or hanging out in the Discord servers of their favorite leftist video essayist, or in the chat of their favorite left-leaning streamer. They are not going to be watching G4. At best, you're going to get people who are nostalgic for the brand's glory years, looking to see the modern gaming landscape reflected through it. But it got G4's attention, but not the attention they wanted. The reactionary, anti-diversity, anti-woke, right-leaning chudiverse had a field day. All the drive and social media attention came towards not watching the new G4, but roasting it in a long-winded videos cackling at its collapse.
When you attack your audience, when you attack your fan base, when you label them sexist, racist, whatever, it will not work out well for you. And it looks like G4 TV may have finally figured that out. Unfortunately for them, it's about 8 months too late.
Ultimately, we have just a typical kind of blue-haired meltdown.
People think she's not qualified for the job, and they miss Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn, and she spun it into sexism.
It's on a rant from a deranged lunatic. There's really no other word for it. Now, I'd never heard of G4 TV before this, but then I found myself getting accused of simultaneously not finding her attractive and also jerking it to her too much. I mean, I really don't know how you kind of fit those two things together, but she certainly did.
And amidst this PR crisis is now the part I'm sure you've all been waiting for, where my small part of the story comes in my interaction with a LinkedIn recruiter who reached out to me on behalf of G4. Hey, thanks for reaching out to me. I love G4, grew up watching it, and even had the privilege of working alongside G4 alumni like Brendan Hermes and Maddie Kirsch, alongside some talent currently working at the network like Golden Boy. I've always wanted to work there, but how well is the network doing and how viable would be taking a sales position be over there? I've seen nothing but bad news ever since the Frosk situation. The YouTube channel had to be rebranded to XPlay, and there's already news of reorganizational restructuring. All this makes it feel like Comcast might cut their losses and discontinue the brand in a few months, and it seems like it'd be very difficult to make sales for a brand name that seems to be struggling to keep its target demo engaged. Don't get me wrong, this is my dream job, but as someone who watches the gaming industry very closely, you can imagine I'm a little bit wary. Unless G4 is doing great on linear cable and the social media numbers don't really matter.
Thanks for the inquiry. The link that you sent over is about 10 years old, so it is quite outdated. Not sure what bad news came out from the Frosk situation, but if equality in the workplace and gaming specifically is a bad thing, this may not be the opportunity for you. G4 and its parent companies have an extremely high expectation for diversity, equality, and inclusion. As of a week ago, this is internally, Comcast is backing G4 for another plethora of years. G4 just signed a deal with Pluto TV and is now on there. From what I see, our socials are growing exponentially, and we have been nothing but increasing reach on all channels. We just released a new show about a month ago, and on a weekly basis have 100,000 viewers watching this show. So again, not sure what numbers you've been looking at, but seems like we have different ideas of success.
That article was out of date, but I've seen news stories about restructuring. I'm all for equitable workplaces, but I do think a network that would speak out against sexism and misogyny in the workplace and in gaming would also not air something like this a few weeks later.
Let's see what's inside here. Let's see if there's... Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's a woman! How much is she?
Oh my!
Oh my god.
$10, $10.
I just want to let you know,
Amaranth is not included in the price of this hot tub.
No.
But give a round of applause for Amaranth, everybody. Coming to present products for us today. How are you?
We all love playing with balls here.
Women do not exist to be nice on the eyes for you.
Yeah. Oh, she's getting so toned up.
Oh, the price is going up.
All right. Snuffy. What do you think it costs?
Sorry, I was like mesmerized by something. I'm gonna say $15.
All right. Vay, what do you think?
Women do not exist to be nice on the eyes for you.
Do equitable workplaces support bikini days and erotic shake weight play? I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but all this seems like a signs of a network that's having a bit of an identity crisis right now, and typically they don't last long. Need I remind you of Venn, the video game entertainment news network that launched and died in the span of less than a year? I love a lot of the stuff I've seen on G4, and I think the relaunch has been handled very well. By the same token, the public reception has not been so kind. From what I can see, the YouTube channels have been struggling to gain momentum since those metrics are very transparent and easy to find with a quick look at Social Blade, and I'd hate to have such a great opportunity have me looking for a new job in less than 6 months.
I understand the confusion. Every show is different, separately, and if you'd like to move forward in the process here, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for the conversation.
Game, set, and match! This was back in March of this year. The thing about the Frosk situation was that Twitch and YouTube gives you tools to get rid of harassment or bigoted remarks. It's possible to ban or delete comments that are innately misogynistic or gross. You can remove certain words from live streams. There are tools available to squelch out those kind of voices to try and eliminate or at least mitigate them from your community. But nobody wants to be called into the principal's office and be lectured. In addition to giving the reactionary Chudiverse weeks of content to mull over and make money off of the bloated corpse of G4, Frosk, along with a lot of the talent at G4, received a tremendous amount of harassment, which of course we never endorse harassment on this channel. Even if you don't like something, does not entitle you to hurl poo-poo at them online. But there was a much bigger problems than online trolls to worry about. Little by little, at the senior level, G4 began to bleed talent. Tucker Roberts, who seemingly concocted the whole endeavor to impress his girlfriend at the time, Olivia Munn, became absent and was indecisive and fickle about larger plans for strategy, like splitting up the programming across several YouTube channels. Ultimately, Roberts stepped away completely by March of this year, just 4 months after G4's relaunch. Senior Vice President and also former G4 alum Blair Herter stepped away as well. The network was a dead man walking. G4 tried to walk back the situation by deleting their tweet in support of Frosk and taking down the initial infamous video. Behind closed doors, the situation echoed the sins of the past that the new network was meant to try and wipe away, as reported in the Washington Post. G4, according to multiple former employees, quietly deleted the tweet in support of Black's segment and set the YouTube video of it to private. G4 did not mention the tweet nor the controversy publicly again. Behind the scenes, Black wound up in a series of meetings with leadership, according to former employees who worked with Black, but ultimately the message from G4 was that little could be done about the harassment on the network's end, and she should file a local police report. They basically told her to be quiet, said a former contractor. Black declined to comment. Multiple female staffers told the Post that the situation was galling, and that they had been promised something different when they joined G4. The message very explicitly was, we are going to be a different G4 that recognizes the sins of our past, and we are going to make sure that it doesn't happen again in regards to diversity, inclusion, and sexism, a former female contractor said about the message when she joined the company. The former contractor decried the company for sitting idle while one of its hosts was harassed for months. There were so many different things that could be done as opposed to letting YouTubers run wild, they said. Speaking to the Post, Gerard, the completionist Khalil, a castmate of Black, said he felt the situation forced talent to act as customer service for G4. G4 could have done so much more, Gerard said. From the top down, a lot of people were like, what do? Do we hire a crisis person? Do we talk to HR? Nothing came of that. There was no formal plan put into play. September was met with layoffs, with 20 to 30 crew members being let go. After the series of layoffs, Frosk brazenly tweeted that she survived, something that put off even her most staunch defenders. Her contract was bought out and she was let go. It didn't really matter though, the network was dead. A few weeks later, the rest of the staff was laid off as an internal memo was leaked out from Deadline Reading. As you know, G4 was reintroduced last year to tap into the popularity of gaming, We invested to create the new G4 as an online and TV destination for fans to be entertained, to be inspired, and connect with gaming content. Over the past several months, we worked hard to generate that interest in G4, but viewership is low and the network has not achieved sustainable financial results. This is certainly not what we hoped for, and as a result, we made the very difficult decision to discontinue G4's operations, effective immediately. I know this is disappointing news, and I'm disappointed too. I want to thank you and everyone on the G4 team for the hard work and commitment to the network. Our human resources team is reaching out to you to provide you with support, discuss other opportunities that may be available, and answer any questions you may have. Thank you again for all your hard work for G4. Sincerely, Scott David, Chairman and CEO, Comcast Spectacor. It's kind of amazing to see so many companies repeat the same mistakes, almost identically the same mistakes as Venn. One could argue that Frosk was the end of G4, but I don't think that's the case. Even if that controversy was weathered or mitigated, the fact that you were spending so much on talent like Austin Cho or Hassan Abi in a vain hope they could bring their audience over was foolish. It doesn't cost much of anything for the Actman or Young Yea or any of the millions of other successful gaming personalities to turn on a camera and record a video about current events, but it costs Comcast or Venn hundreds of thousands of dollars to turn their cameras on. Every move, every decision just bleeds money and resources versus a lo-fi content creator who can pivot on a dime. As Austin even pointed out, he doesn't pay anyone to be on his game shows. Streamers understand the game of self-promotion within their ecosystems. Clout is currency in the online world, but in the real world, you need cold, hard cash. But to be on network TV, it costs much more to have someone come in for a guest spot. You can't run network TV on clout. And so the dream of gaming TV has come to fruition just on user-generated content platforms and not on linear TV. Some thought that even if the Twitch and YouTube numbers were middling at best, that maybe, just maybe, linear cable could have been its saving grace, but it barely managed to even get 1,000 viewers, as reported by IndieWire, as rated by Nielsen. Among the 120 cable channels, G4 was dead last, and could barely average about 100 people across prime time and during the total for the day. It's no wonder Comcast pulled the plug. And so we sit in memorial to what could have been, the promise of gaming television that almost was. People who tried to capitalize on a culture they didn't understand, which ultimately lost them millions of dollars.
G4 was about having fun with your friends, playing video games, and most importantly, coming together around things that we all genuinely love. It didn't matter how bad my day was. The thing that I knew was gonna get me through was the fact that I could just turn on the TV and see y'all's faces.
What's up?
And when we look at it in the past, you know, G4 did have its problems. I mean, you watch some of the old bits and they were far from perfect. I mean, like far from perfect. And I mean, like, very.
Okay, we got it, Woods. We got it.
As someone who grew up on the original G4, who loved tuning into the X-Play, this was a sad day. Maybe it could have done better, but honestly, this was probably the ultimate fate that all gaming TV is destined to achieve. So thank you for watching as we sit back and reflect upon the dead corpse of gaming on cable TV. Content is king, but distribution is key. May those who come in the future look upon these lessons of the past, and for the older millennials like me, pay tribute to the dream of what could have been. Hope you enjoyed that look behind the scenes of my LinkedIn DMs and a look at the failed launch of not one, but two video game networks that both repeated each other's mistakes. Thanks for watching the video. These networks tried to pay their way into gaining the most mysterious and elusive power of social media, and that is, of course, the superpower of algorithms and math.
Algorithms! Math!
Yes, it is the superpower that drives all YouTube channels. It is the only form of validation that justifies the time and effort I put into making videos. So listen to Stanley Tucci and let the beat of algorithms and math flow through you.
Why can't we make algorithms?
Only you can give me the power that $43 million of venture capital funding couldn't make work for Venn, and the several millions of dollars of Comcast money that couldn't get G4 to work either. So remember, like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Raise the damn roof on this video. Only you can gain Tucci's favor. Also, a special thank you to Tim for doing the voice of the G4 recruiter. He recently started a podcast called The Buddy List. You can go over and listen to him right now. I'm in the first episode, and if you want to hear us trade horror stories about working at the worst startup ever, link in the description below, and a special thank you to all my patrons for supporting me and for making these kind of long-winded videos worthwhile. You, of course, can join them and support me and have early access to all my latest content. So I'll see you again whenever I finish my next video.